you're staying in Aarhus, don't stop at Aarhus. In this video, I'll show you 10 incredible day trips that can take your Denmark trip to the next level, from coastal gems and historic landmarks to places most travelers completely miss. Stick around for tips along the way that'll make the whole trip smoother and help you avoid the usual mistakes. Let's get into it. Day 1. Aarhus and Moesgaard. Morning. Aarhus Old Town. Start in the heart of Aarhus, where the city's energy hits you immediately. Explore the Old Town area, a perfect blend of 14th century history and a modern cafe culture. Head straight for the massive brick spire of Aarhus Cathedral, the tallest church in Denmark. It's free to enter, so take 20 minutes to view the medieval frescoes preserved since the 1400s. For a panoramic view over the rooftops, climb the tower for $5. Afterward, dive into the Latin Quarter, the city's oldest neighborhood filled with narrow cobblestone alleys and independent boutiques. Late morning, brunch at Aarhus Street Food. Before leaving the center, head to Aarhus Street Food. This former bus garage is now a massive industrial food hall with over 30 stalls. For a crowd pleaser, hit Ducket for their legendary pulled duck burger and duck fat fries. If you want to eat like a local, try Moa's Køkken for traditional Danish comfort food like meatballs and curry sauce. Most plates cost between $11 and $15, with beers around $7 to $9. Afternoon, Moesgaard Museum. Drive 15 minutes south of Aarhus to Moesgaard Museum, an architectural icon with a massive grass roof blending into the hills. The highlight is the Grauballemann, an Iron Age bog body preserved for over 2,000 years. Seeing fingerprints and hair from the 3rd century BCE is a surreal experience. Admission is $27, and you'll need 2 to 3 hours to explore. Afterward, walk up to the exterior glass roof for a view of the forest and bay. Moesgaard Manor. Right next to the museum is Moesgaard Manor, a quiet 1700s estate that offers a complete shift from the modern exhibits. Walk the grounds and courtyard to see how the land was managed centuries ago. Exploring the estate is free and takes about 30 minutes. Insider tip. Look for the Thai pavilion in the Manor Park. It was a gift in the 1970s, and finding a traditional Buddhist shrine in the Danish forest is a strange local detail most people miss. Evening. Dinner at Skovmøllen. Finish your day at Skovmøllen, a 1500s timber-framed watermill nestled in the forest. It features a working water wheel and serves high-end Danish comfort food. The seasonal menu highlights classics like Sternetskål with fried and steamed plaice, Wiener Schnitzel, and Rimmetlaks. Main courses cost between $22 and $36. It's a local favorite with a relaxed, authentic atmosphere. Day 2. Ebeltoft. Morning. Ebeltoft Old Town. Drive 45 minutes east of Aarhus to Ebeltoft. Arrive early to explore empty cobblestone streets and crooked houses before the crowds arrive. Visit Det Gamle Radhus, the smallest town in Denmark, located in the central square. Don't miss Farvergaten, Northern Europe's only preserved merchant town dye house. This site offers a look at 1700s industrial history and is highly photographed for its leaning walls and blooming hollyhocks. Late morning, Glass Museum. Once you've explored the back alleys, head down from the old town toward the waterfront to the Glass Museum Ebeltoft. It's a modern space that focuses on contemporary glass art from around the world. You can comfortably see the rotating exhibits in about 45 minutes. Entry is around $17 for adults. Insider tip. Head to the glass hut in the courtyard. They often have professional glass blowers working at the furnace, and watching them shape molten glass is far more interesting than just looking at the finished pieces in the galleries. Afternoon. Lunch at Manzana. Cut back toward the town center for lunch at Manzana. This spot serves Spanish-inspired tapas using local Danish ingredients. It's a great way to try a variety of flavors without a heavy sit-down meal. Order the pata negra ham or the gambas al ajillo, which are garlic prawns. Most individual tapas plates are between $8 and $14, so you'll likely spend around $30 for a full lunch. Fregatten Jylland. For the rest of the afternoon, make your way to the harbor to board the Fregatten Jylland. You can't miss it. It's one of the world's largest wooden warships and served as both a combat vessel in the 1864 Battle of Heligoland and later as a royal yacht for King Christian IX. You're free to roam the entire ship, including the captain's quarters and the battery deck lined with massive cannons. To get a real sense of the scale, walk around to the dry dock to see the massive wooden hull from below. Tickets are about $23. Late afternoon, harbor and beach walk. Step off the ship and keep moving along the water path. The harbor is full of small fishing boats and wooden vessels, and it leads directly into a coastal trail. Follow the shoreline toward the beach. The water in the bay is usually dead calm, making it a perfect spot to clear your head before dinner. Evening, dinner at Restaurant Stockflith. Return to the historic center for dinner at Restaurant Stockflith, set within a former merchant's house. This spot specializes in a refined fusion of French and Danish cuisine. Prioritize the baked cod or the signature beef tenderloin. Main courses run between $35 and $50. Seating is limited, so book at least a day in advance. Day 3, Silkeborg. Morning, Gudeno River. For your third day, head to Silkeborg. This is the heart of Denmark's Lake District, a massive area of deep forests and interconnected waterways that feels completely different from the coastal towns. Start your morning right on the Gudeno River, the longest in the country. You can rent a canoe or a small motorboat directly in the town center for about $22 to $30 per hour. Spend about an hour on the water. The current is mild and it's the best way to see the forest opening up into the massive lakes. Late morning, Heervatten Trail. Take a 10-minute drive to a section of the Heervatten, an ancient ox road used for centuries by traders. Near Silkeborg, it cuts through purple heather hills and dense woodland. Walk for about 45 minutes to see the rugged glacial landscape that defines this part of Jutland. Afternoon, lunch at Green Habits. Return to Silkeborg for lunch at Green Habits. This modern spot is perfect for a fresh, fast meal. They're known for massive bowls and toasted sandwiches like the crispy chicken sandwich or the Omega 2.0 bowl. Expect to pay around $12 to $15 for a main dish. Art Center Silkeborg Bad. Visit the Art Center Silkeborg Bad, located in a converted 19th century spa resort. It combines indoor galleries with an outdoor sculpture park blended into the forest. Spend about an hour wandering the old spa buildings and forest trails. Entry is around $18. Late afternoon, Lake Odense walk. The art center sits right on the bank of Lake Odense, so when you're done with the art, just keep walking toward the water. There's an easy, flat trail that follows the shoreline. Since you're already there, it's a natural way to wrap up your time outdoors. The light hitting the lake in the afternoon is great for photos, and the area is usually very peaceful. Evening, dinner at Panorama Mølle and Vin. Finish your trip at Panorama Mølle and Vin in the main town square. This stylish spot specializes in high-end Danish classics and award-winning schmorbrød. Main courses run between $25 and $45. It's a popular destination, so book a table a day or two in advance. Day 4, Viborg. Morning, Viborg Cathedral. Drive about 50 minutes northwest of Aarhus to reach Viborg. This city was the ancient power center where Danish kings were crowned, and you can still feel that historical weight in the massive granite walls. Start your morning at the Viborg Cathedral, a twin-towered giant that dominates the skyline. The real draw's inside, where artist Joachim Skovgaard spent years covering the walls with 57 massive frescoes that tell biblical stories like a 19th century graphic novel. Entry is about $2, and it takes roughly 45 minutes to see it all. Insider tip: find the stairs leading down into the crypt. It's the oldest part of the building from the 1100s, and the cold, silent atmosphere is a massive contrast to the bright, colorful paintings upstairs. Late morning, Viborg Old Town. Step outside the cathedral into a maze of cobblestone streets and yellowed walls. Walk down Sankt Moesgaard, the city's most historic street where houses lean into one another. Loop through the main square at Nytorv to see the old courthouse and Bishop's Palace. Keep an eye out for the small iron medical symbols on railings, marking the former homes of local doctors. Afternoon, lunch at Les Jeunes. Head to Les Jeunes, a cozy bistro blending French and Nordic styles. The menu's simple and focused on quality. Try the mushroom toast with red curant on sourdough or the local fish and chips. Lunch plates cost between $22 and $26 in a relaxed, approachable setting. Parks and gardens. Shake off the lunch by heading to Lattenerhaven. It's a secret garden tucked right behind the cathedral that's divided into different sections with herbs, roses, and quiet benches. It's a great spot to hide from the world for 20 minutes. If you want more room to walk, head down to Borvold Park. This is a massive green space right on the edge of the lake where a medieval castle once stood. Insider tip. While you're in Borvold Park, look for the statue of King Erik Klipping. He was a Danish monarch murdered nearly in 1286, and if you ask a local, they'll probably give you the long, grisly version of the mystery. Late afternoon, Dahl's Vinhandel. Before dinner, stop by Dahl's Vinhandel. This wine shop has been in the same spot since 1807, and walking inside feels like stepping into a time capsule. It's packed floor to ceiling with special spirits, local chocolates, and wine. You can browse the old world shelves or even try a quick tasting of something local. Evening, dinner at Den Gyldne Okse. Finish at Den Gyldne Okse, located in a 1700s merchant house. This institution is famous for steaks served under low ceilings and exposed beams. Order the Chateaubriand, the pepper steak, or the baked cod. Expect to pay between $45 and $60 for a main course. Day 5. Aalborg. Morning, Aalborg Zoo. Drive about 1 hour and 15 minutes north of Aarhus to reach Aalborg. This city has much more industrial, modern energy than the sleepy cobblestone towns you've seen so far. Start your morning at the Aalborg Zoo, which is tucked away on the hillside just outside the center. It's one of the only places in the country where you can see polar bears, and their African savanna section with giraffes and zebras is massive. The layout is designed in a loop, so you won't waste any time doubling back. Entry is around $31 for adults, and you should plan to spend at least 2 hours here to see the big hitters. Late morning, Aalborg Tower. Once you leave the zoo, it's only a few minutes to reach the Aalborg Tower. This is a quirky 55-meter or 180-foot tall steel structure that looks like a giant radio mast. You take the glass elevator up to the top, and because the tower sits on a hill, you actually end up higher than the tallest points in the city. The view gives you a 360-degree look at the Limfjord, which is the massive body of water that cuts Jutland in two. It's a quick 20-minute stop, but it's the best way to get your bearings before heading into the city streets. Entry is roughly $6, and the elevator ride is the main event. Lunch at Il Ristorante Fellini. Head into the city center for lunch at Il Ristorante Fellini. This is a long-standing local favorite for authentic Italian. Go for the tortellini Sophia Laurent, which is filled with pork and sirloin beef in a cream sauce, or the dolce vita pizza topped with beef fillet and bacon. Main courses usually land between $22 and $36. It's a reliable, fast-paced spot that gets you fed and back out onto the street quickly. Waterfront walk. After lunch, walk down to the Aalborg waterfront. This area has been transformed from an industrial shipyard into a massive architectural playground. You'll pass the Utzon Center, the final work of Jorn Utzon, the man who designed the Sydney Opera House. Continue toward Musikens Hus, a giant silver and glass concert hall sitting right on the edge of the Limfjord. The entire path is about 2 kilometers or 1.2 miles long. It's wide, flat, and easy to walk, featuring giant concrete steps where you can see locals hanging out by the water. Late afternoon, street art route. From the waterfront, cut back into the narrow side streets to find the street art route. Aalborg has turned its old building facades into a massive public gallery with over 80 giant murals. You don't need a map or a guide for this. Just head towards streets like Helgolandsgade or the area around Carolinelund Park. You'll see everything from abstract patterns to hyper-realistic portraits that take up entire 5-story walls. Evening, dinner at Alimentum. End your day at Alimentum, which holds a Michelin Green Star for sustainability. Almost everything served comes from their local farm. This is a full experience featuring a signature tasting menu of hyper-seasonal Danish ingredients. A full evening costs around $280 per person. This spot is small and popular, so you must book several days in advance. Day 6, Rubjerg, Knude, and Løkken. Morning, Rubjerg Knude Lighthouse. Drive an hour and 15 minutes north of Aalborg to reach Rubjerg Knude, one of Denmark's most surreal sights. From the parking area, walk 1 kilometer across shifting sand dunes that feel more like a desert than Scandinavia. The lighthouse sits on a massive hill where erosion is so aggressive, the 720-ton structure was moved 70 meters inland on rails in 2019. Budget an hour to climb the dunes and take in the coastal views. Afternoon, lunch at Untitled Chapter. Drive 20 minutes south to the surf town of Løkken. Stop at Untitled Chapter, a laid-back, modern spot perfect for escaping the wind. Order the fish and chips made with fresh white fish or the Havsburger with truffle mayo. Expect to spend between $22 and $32. Løkken Beach. After you eat, walk straight out onto Løkken Beach. This isn't your typical swimming spot. It's a massive, wide expanse of white sand where you can actually drive your car right down to the waterline. You'll see the iconic white beach huts, there are around 500 of them, lined up like little soldiers against the dunes. The North Sea here is powerful and loud, which defines the whole atmosphere of the coast. Spend about 45 minutes walking along the water or checking out the old World War II bunkers that are slowly being swallowed by the tide. Late afternoon, Løkken Town. Once you've had enough salt air, head into Løkken Town. The transition from the beach to the main streets happens in seconds. Walk along Løkkensgade to poke around the small surf shops and local galleries. It's a classic summer town with a relaxed, no-stress energy. You can cover the main loop of the town center in about 45 minutes, making it an easy way to kill time before your dinner reservation. Evening, dinner at Vandret. Finish at Vandret, a modern gem near the dunes. The menu is sharp and hyper-local. Try the pan-fried hake or braised pork cheek. The presentation is high-end, but the vibe remains chill and coastal. Main courses run between $35 and $52. Space is limited, so book your table in advance. Day 7, Søndervig and the West Coast. Morning, Søndervig Beach. Drive about an hour and 15 minutes south from Løkken to reach Søndervig. This part of the shoreline feels even more exposed and massive than the north, and everything here revolves around the raw power of the North Sea. Start your morning right on Søndervig Beach. As soon as you hit the sand, you'll notice the sheer width of the shoreline. The wind coming off the water is constant and salt-heavy, so it's more about the atmosphere than a casual sunbathe. Walk along the waterline for about 45 minutes to see the massive World War II bunkers that have tumbled from the dunes onto the beach. Late morning, Sand Sculpture Festival. From the beach, walk a few minutes inland to the Søndervig Sand Sculpture Festival. This is not just people making sand castles. Professional artists from around the world create a massive themed wall and individual sculptures that stand over 4 meters or 13 feet tall. The level of detail they get only using sand and water is incredible. Plan to spend about an hour wandering through the exhibit. Entry is around $13. Insider tip: walk the full loop in the direction of the numbered signs before you start doubling back for photos. The sculptures are usually arranged to tell a chronological story or sequence, and it makes more sense if you see them in the intended order. Afternoon, lunch at Søndervig's O Grill. Head over to Søndervig's O Grill for a quick, no-nonsense lunch. This is a classic Danish coastal grill bar, which is exactly what you want after a windy morning on the sand. Go for a traditional Danish hot dog with all the fixings, remoulade, fried onions, and pickles, or a large portion of their thick-cut fries. You'll likely spend between $12 and $18 here. It's fast, hot, and keeps the day moving without any formality. Lindvi Lighthouse. After lunch, drive about 10 minutes south to Lindvi Lighthouse. This is the youngest lighthouse on the west coast, built in 1906, and it sits on top of a high dune that makes it even taller than it is. You have to climb the 159 steps to the top. The cast iron staircase is narrow and continuous, but the payoff is a 360-degree view where you have the crashing North Sea on one side and the calm Ringkøbing Fjord on the other. Entry to the tower is about $10. Late afternoon, Ringkøbing. From the lighthouse, continue another 10 kilometers or 6 miles to Ringkøbing. The atmosphere shifts immediately from the wild coast to a very structured, quiet town. Ringkøbing is famous for its red-bricked houses and low-slung buildings. Walk through the main square and down the narrow streets leading toward the harbor. You don't need a map, just move naturally through the center for about 45 minutes to soak up the calm energy before dinner. Evening, dinner at Hosdodo. Wrap up your day at Hosdodo in the heart of Ringkøbing. This refined yet welcoming restaurant and wine bar focuses on modern European cooking with a heavy emphasis on local, seasonal ingredients. The menu's tight and high quality. Go for the locally caught fish of the day or the beef tenderloin with seasonal root vegetables. Their wine list is one of the best in the region, so it's worth asking for a pairing recommendation. Main courses generally run between $32 and $52. Since this is one of the few high-end spots in a small town, you should definitely book a table at least a day in advance. Day 8. Billund. Morning. Legoland. Head over to Billund, a town that exists almost entirely as the birthplace of the Lego brick. This is a high-energy shift from the quiet coastal dunes, so aim to be at the gates of Legoland right when they open at 10 a.m. Those first 2 hours are your only chance to hit the big rides before the massive midday crowds arrive. Start with heavy hitters like the Polar Explorer roller coaster or Extreme Racers. The park is laid out in themed zones, but since the most popular rides are toward the back and sides, bypass the gift shops and head straight for the Steel. Tickets usually cost between $52 and $64 online, but can jump to $75 at the gate. Plan to spend at least 4 hours covering the primary attractions. Insider tip. Download the Legoland app before you walk through the gates. It gives you live wait times for every ride, which is the only way to pivot your strategy when a 60-minute line suddenly appears at the Dragon Coaster. Late morning. Legoland-themed areas. Once you've checked off the big rides, slow down and head into the themed worlds. Ninjago World is the standout here. It uses high-tech sensors so you can throw fireballs with your hands on the main ride. From there, move into Miniland, which is the heart of the original park. It features 1/20-scale replicas of famous cities and landscapes built from over 20 million plastic bricks. It's worth spending over an hour just in Miniland to see the moving ships in the harbor and the tiny trains running through the German countryside. Even if you aren't a hardcore fan, the level of engineering here is a massive flex. Afternoon. Lunch at Family Buffet. Stay inside the park for lunch to avoid wasting an hour re-entering. The best-rated spot for a proper meal is the Family Buffet in the Adventureland area. It's a massive spread where you can get everything from roasted meats and seasonal salads to pasta and fish. It's a much better value than the individual snack stands, and the quality is decent for a theme park. You can expect to pay around $35 for an adult buffet, while smaller grill items at the surrounding kiosks like Captain Rogers Fish and Chips land between $18 and $24. Live shows and events. After lunch, give your feet a break and catch one of the live performances. The Battle of the Brick is the big one. It's a live-action jousting show with horses and stunts that take place in a dedicated arena. Check the daily schedule as soon as you arrive, as these shows usually only run 2 or 3 times a day. These performances last about 25 minutes and are a perfect way to kill time while your food settles before you head back for one last round on the rides. Late afternoon. Lego House. If you still have energy after the park, walk about 10 minutes into the center of Billund to the Lego House. Even if you don't buy a ticket for the experience zones, the building itself is an architectural marvel made of 21 massive bricks stacked on top of each other. You can walk up the outdoor stairs to the roof terraces for free to get a great view of the town. Evening, dinner at Bellini. Finish your day at Bellini, a top-rated Italian spot in Billund. It's a perfect reset after the themed park chaos, offering a cozy, family-run atmosphere with classic comfort food. The portions are generous, and the service is much faster than the options inside the park. Go for the pizza bresaola or the pasta carbonara, which is a local favorite. Main courses generally run between $22 and $38. Since Billund is packed with tourists, this place fills up every night. Book your table at least a day ahead. Day 9. Odense. Morning. Hans Christian Andersen Museum. Drive about an hour and 15 minutes east of Billund to reach Odense, the birthplace of Hans Christian Andersen. Skip the old-fashioned museum concepts. The new H.C. Andersen House is a world-class architectural masterpiece designed by Kengo Kuma. The museum is an immersive underground labyrinth of light and sound that feels like walking through a fairy tale. You explore the space with a headset that triggers stories as you approach different exhibits. Plan for at least 2 hours here, as the gardens above are just as impressive as the galleries below. Entry is around $24. Late morning. Old Town and Odense Cathedral. Step out of the museum and you're already in the heart of the Old Town. This is a postcard-perfect neighborhood of low, colorful houses and uneven cobblestones. Walk through the historic streets toward the Odense Cathedral, also known as St. Knud's Cathedral. This is a massive Gothic structure with a bright white interior that feels incredibly open. Head down to the crypt to see the skeletal remains of King Canute the Holy. It's a gritty, real history contrast to the fairy tales you just saw. You can see the main hall and the crypt in about 30 minutes. Afternoon, lunch at the Original Pizza. For a quick and legendary lunch, head to the Original Pizza in the city center. This isn't your standard kebab shop. It's widely considered one of the best pita spots in the country. Order the pita with flank steak or the crispy chicken. The bread is baked fresh and they pile it high with pickled greens and homemade dressing. You'll spend between $11 and $16. It's fast, high-protein fuel that won't leave you feeling sluggish for the afternoon. Odense Zoo. After lunch, take a 10-minute drive or a steady 30-minute walk through the park to Odense Zoo. It's been voted the best zoo in Europe several times for a reason. The standout here is the Oceanium, where you can walk through a tunnel and see manatees and tropical fish swimming right over your head. The enclosures are designed to get you as close to the animals as possible. You can literally stand a few feet away from a tiger or a giraffe. Entry is about $30, and you should give yourself 2 hours to do the full loop. Late afternoon, Odense Afat. Right outside the zoo entrance, you can hop onto the Odense Afat riverboats. This is a classic local experience that's been running since 1882. The boat cruises slowly down the river, passing through the back gardens of some of the city's wealthiest homes and under ancient weeping willows. It's a perfect 1-hour round trip and a perfect way to rest your feet after the zoo. Tickets cost about $15. Evening, dinner at Mitchell's Odense. Finish your day at Mitchell's, a highly rated modern gastropub in the city center. It has a high-energy, international vibe, and the food is consistently top tier. Go for their gourmet burger or the braised beef, which is their signature dish. The atmosphere is warm with brick walls and great lighting, making it a solid spot to hang out for a few hours. Main courses generally run between $22 and $38. It's a favorite for locals on a night out, so definitely book a table ahead of time. Day 10. Egeskov Castle. Morning, Egeskov Castle. Drive about 30 minutes south of Odense to reach Egeskov Castle, a stunning Renaissance water castle built in the middle of a lake on thousands of oak piles. Head inside as soon as the gates open at 10 a.m. to explore the fully furnished rooms and spiral staircases. Be sure to find Titania's Palace, a massive, incredibly detailed dollhouse that took 15 years to build. Entry for the estate is around $38 during the high season. Insider tip: look for the wooden man in the attic. Local legend says that if this figure's ever moved, the castle will sink into the moat on Christmas Eve. The staff takes this so seriously that he hasn't been touched in centuries. Late morning, the gardens and mazes. Step outside and lose yourself in the award-winning gardens. The estate is massive, featuring 100 hectares or about 250 acres of manicured lawns, herb gardens, and massive fuchsia collections. A highlight here is the network of bamboo and hornbeam mazes. Some are easy, but the Great Maze designed by Piet Hein is a genuine challenge that can take you 20 minutes to solve. Give yourself about an hour to wander the grounds. The hedges here are over 270 years old and stand 8 meters or 26 feet tall, creating a natural labyrinth that feels completely disconnected from the modern world. Afternoon, lunch at Café Jomfru Rubjerg. Stay on the castle grounds for lunch at Café Jomfru Rubjerg, located in the old gatehouse. It's much better than your average museum cafe, focusing on high-quality Danish open-faced sandwiches known as smørrebrød. Order the breaded fish fillet with remoulade or the roast beef with crispy onions. A solid lunch here will run you between $18 and $28. It's the most efficient way to eat without breaking the castle atmosphere, and the service is quick enough to get you back to the museums. The classic car and veteran museums. After lunch, head to the estate's outbuildings to see one of the best vintage transport collections in Northern Europe. Start at the Classic Car Museum, which holds over 50 restored vehicles from the late 1800s to the 1970s. Follow this with the Man and the Machine exhibit to see vintage motorcycles, mopeds, and historic airplanes hanging from the ceiling. Plan to spend about 2 hours here to take in the sheer scale of the collection. Insider tip: don't miss the Treetop Walk. This series of suspension bridges sits 15 meters or 50 feet up in the air. It offers a bird's-eye view of the gardens that most visitors skip while focusing on the cars. Evening, dinner at Theater Bodega. Drive about an hour and 30 minutes back to Aarhus for a final traditional feast at Theater Bodega. This place has been a local institution since 1900s, packed with theatrical posters and old-world charm. Go for the Wiener Schnitzel or the Moorbraalboef, a pork tenderloin in rich mushroom cream sauce. If you want the true local experience, order the fried pork with parsley sauce, which is Denmark's national dish. Main courses typically cost between $28 and $42. Useful info for spending 10 days in Denmark. Best time to visit Denmark. Aim for May to September. These months give you long daylight hours and mild weather, usually between 15 and 25 degrees Celsius or 59 to 77 degrees Fahrenheit, which works best for this route. June and early September are the most balanced, with fewer crowds and comfortable conditions. City airport tips. Most international travelers arrive at Copenhagen Airport. From there, trains to Aarhus take about 3 hours and cost around $45 to $70. Domestic flights take around 45 minutes and usually cost between $80 and $150. If you're planning to rent a car, prices typically start from $40 to $70 per day. Where to stay in Denmark? For exploring Jutland, Aarhus is the most practical base. It keeps most destinations within 1 to 2 hours and gives you easy access to restaurants and transport. Hotels in the city center usually range from $120 and $250 per night. When you move to Funen, staying one night in Odense makes more sense before visiting Egeskov Castle instead of returning the same day. How to get around Denmark? Driving is the most efficient way to follow this route. Distances range from 30 to 150 kilometers or 18 to 93 miles, and many stops are not well connected by public transport. Car rental usually costs between $40 and $80 per day depending on the season and car type. Fuel prices are higher than average, so plan your budget accordingly. Where to eat in Denmark? Denmark isn't cheap, but choosing the right spots makes a big difference. For a strong local experience in Aarhus, go to Restaurant Et. It's a classic bistro-style place with dishes like steak frites and seafood, usually between $25 and $40. For something more modern, try Herwerk. The menu changes daily based on seasonal ingredients, with full meals around $60 to $90. For a plant-based option, head to Cafe Gaia, serving organic vegetarian dishes like bowls and curries, usually between $12 and $20. And those are 10 incredible day trips from Aarhus that can make your Denmark adventure even more unforgettable. From coastal towns and historic landmarks to hidden gems beyond the city, there's so much more to explore around Aarhus than most travelers realize. If this video helped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out my other Denmark travel guides. And tell me in the comments, which of these day trips would you do first?